Hello everyone, Kim here. On behalf of myself and the Book Interrupted crew, we just wanted to acknowledge the seriousness of the subject matter of the book What Happened to You by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Bruce Perry. In an effort to lighten the burden of some of the load that could come from reading such a heavy content novel, we have attempted to create a situation where we can share a laugh with each other as well as laugh at ourselves. We all know that laughter is the best medicine, and that is the spirit of the following episode. We hope you'll enjoy this segment of Book Interrupted Off the Shelf.
Are you looking for a light read? Something fun? Something entertaining? Well, check out Book Interrupted's blog. You can find Manuscript Mondays, Topic Tuesdays, Word Wednesdays, Thought Thursdays, Fact Fridays, and Silly Saturdays. Sundays are reserved for Down the Rabbit Hole or Top 10 lists, artwork, and more. Don't forget, be sure to check out Book Interrupted's blog at www.bookinterrupted.com/blog.
Parental guidance is recommended because this episode has mature topics and strong language. Here are some moments you can look forward to during this episode of Book Interrupted.
And landed on my eyeballs and then dried.
But it burst with such power that it came out of my mouth and spat onto her face.
Coming towards me, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? She's gonna get angry.
You're a legend.
And he's like, that's my sister-in-law.
The Nine of
Oh,
Wands.
wands. Ooh, so magical.
You ready, guys? Let's do this.
Express yourself, share the wealth, hold on to your bookmarks, we're off the shelf. Express yourself, it's good for your health. Book Interrupted is off the shelf.
Welcome to Book Interrupted, a book club for busy people to connect and one that celebrates life's interruptions.
Hold on to your bookmarks. Book Interrupted is off the shelf.
Let's listen in to this episode's group discussion.
This episode of Off the Shelf, what we're doing is everyone's going to share a funny what happened to them just to lighten this book cycle a bit. Something funny, maybe embarrassing that happened to them. And we'll share some stories.
Also, weren't we going to offer the option of a tarot card if you didn't want to do?
yeah.
So
Ready to go.
For me, it was really hard to come up with something. I don't know if I've erased all embarrassing memories or I just never do anything embarrassing. So I'm hoping that when other people start talking, I'll come up with one. That was my kind of plan. And I have kind of one that's not even anything. I don't even think it's good, but I wanted to come with something. So if for some reason you have a hard time coming up with something, or if you would rather not share about what happened to you, then you could choose to have a tarot card drawn and we can find out what will happen to you.
Ooh, maybe
I
that's
love
fun.
the
Maybe I
spin
want
on
both.
that. I know.
There you go.
kinda
Do
love
both then. That's
both.
fine.
Yeah.
Tell your story and then draw your card. That's cool.
And also
Okay.
just to point out, because I think all six of us are aware, but for anyone who is listening or watching, this is not an attempt to try to make light of trauma on any means whatsoever. It's more just an acknowledgement that by being a human being, you inevitably are going to have adverse experiences, challenges, big T trauma, little t trauma, like any combination or variation. We are all impacted by things that happen to us in our lives. And this is just a way to have a laugh about it, because you can so easily start to sink down, have things go awry. Trauma is not a laughable matter. This is us really just trying to have fun with the fact that we're celebrating being a human, and sometimes funny shit can happen.
Yeah.
Laughter's the best medicine sometimes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I felt a little like Kim, where I was like, maybe I'm just not easily embarrassed, but I think I might have come up with some stuff. So,
Ooh. Well, who wants to go first?
I could go first if you want. I have lots. I have many.
I know. I love your stories.
I got some good stories. Some of my best stories are about Sarah, but
I was gonna say, you can just jump in on this one if you'd like, because you witnessed it. So here's my story. When I was a teenager, I don't know, maybe I was 16, maybe 17 or something. I quickly leaned over to blow out a candle I had burning in my room.
No.
And as you would do, you blow, but I was running out to go do something. I blew too hard. The wax in the candle literally scooped up and landed on my eyeballs and then dried.
On the
And
eyeball.
then dried.
It burned my eyeballs. I screamed clearly because it was extremely painful. And then ran around the room in shock.
You threw your arms up in the air. You went to blow. You're like, ah!
Meredith was in the hallway waiting for me.
Running around with her arms.
I ran around my room and then ran out the door, but because I was blinded, I hit this edge of the door right in the head and then flung back onto my bed, spread eagle, screaming. And then Meredith, instead of getting my mother to help, because she witnessed this whole thing, burst out laughing and was on the floor, crying so hard. She was laughing. How did that happen?
I'm like, what happened? She couldn't answer me though. She's like on the bed going, ah! She's got a goose egg.
And a big goose egg.
Her eyes are hurt. Everything was so calm at first, and then all of a sudden the screaming, the running around, hitting the door, falling back. It's like, what happened? You know, I'm still laughing at it.
So then my mom eventually came up, and I was able to communicate to her that I have wax on my eyes. She rushed me to emergency where they
Mom was also trying to stifle a laugh. Because like, how does this happen? Sarah, how does this happen to
and I had
you?
a big bump on my forehead.
Oh.
And she was like, what was this then? I was like, I hit the door.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so then my mom took me to emergency and they carefully peeled the wax off my eyeballs and let my mom to know how lucky I was that it didn't cause any permanent damage and gave me some drops and I was good to go.
How did they peel it off?
Very carefully. They had like, they kind of look like Q-tips, but a bit different.
So did you have to like literally look at them, do it the whole
No, they
time?
had something holding my eye open. Holding my eye. Where they slowly peeled off.
Were they
the
able to
wax.
access it with the size of your goose egg protruding in the way?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
you just
like,
can't
you
get
could
to
me
it.
some
Run into the door
ice for
this
that.
way. Like you had to. Also, where was she going? Gonna run down the hallway? She's like getting out of there. Like she's run, like she's just she's just in flight, right? She's panicking.
Yeah.
Was she gonna
She
go
is.
run down the stairs with no eyesight? Like it just, I don't know. It was good.
And that's
You're
how I go.
definitely a
Anytime I've had
flight.
shock, anytime I've had shock, I always go.
You're always
Flight.
in flight and I go into freeze and then
puts
you
her
look
arms
at
up,
me
though.
like, what are you doing?
Anyway, so that's what happened to me. They got the wax off. They gave me drops. It was nothing. But now, anytime I blow out a candle, like even the kids are like, "Can we blow out the candles?" I'm like, "Just wait, just carefully."
Slowly.
Yeah.
Don't slow down.
And
Right?
step
You
away.
slow down, it goes right? Blow across.
Clearly it
Yeah,
does.
across it.
So do you still react this way during if something like that happened now? Would you still run around and go like that?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Really?
that's how
She
I go.
always flight.
Yeah.
She is flight.
Oh my gosh. I go to like super adrenaline, like, okay, this is what we need to do, and this is what we need to do. And I'm like, let's organize everything so everything's fine. And like, so I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, if you and I are in a
I really
love
crisis,
it.
we're probably good together then.
If you can catch her.
Yeah.
You know, that's another funny one because one time Sarah got really hurt and she was full flight and running around. And my mom grabbed her and threw her to the ground because she had to stop her. How else do you stop her? She's very fast. You know?
He is.
She's very fast.
She's
at running.
nimble.
So I remember that was the bike one. Mom had to tackle you to get you down to the ground so she could take you to the hospital.
That's when a bike went off a ramp and landed on top of me, and I had I was playing tennis, and I had a tennis racket in my hand. And
Where was this ramp and tennis court
I
where we
know.
didn't
On the
see the
road.
potential for
No,
danger?
because we were just playing on the road, and then so
In front of
someone
the
had the
house.
ramp on the road. It was steep. Went off the ramp, BMX bike, and then landed
them
on top
out.
of me, and I
calling him out.
I know, right?
I know.
On the internet.
Someone's still
Steve.
holding
Oh,
a grudge.
Sorry, just cutting that out. It was, I'll just say Steve. Sorry. And yeah, he landed on top of me. And then it had a really painful thing happen because like I was cut up and stuff, but my
bleeding
wrist-
all
You know,
over the
no
place.
biggie.
Blood and running with blood coming out. That's why she had to tell you. She's like, she's bleeding and she's running. Like, we got to slow her down and put pressure.
The worst part of that one was because I was holding a tennis racket. The tennis racket hit the curb. And so my wrist didn't actually break or fracture. And the doctor said he's only seen these in textbooks, but my wrist actually buckled. So it's bending, but it hasn't snapped yet, which is really painful. So he's
Whoa.
like, I can put this thing and we're just going to hope it's going to relax on its own. That was the worst part of that one.
My goodness. We could
That
go
was
on
the
and
worst
on.
part.
We could keep on going.
We can
for me.
go on and on. We'll have to.
Because I mean, I had so
We
many
should
to
have
choose
one
from.
whole episode for Sarah's
Honestly, yes.
weird.
Oh,
Oh my
things
goodness.
that happened to me.
Aw.
Anyway,
That
And
could
your
be a
families.
segment. That could be a blog day where you just like write what happened to Sarah.
Sarah. And our family's so mean because like I don't know, we just can't help but laugh.
laugh at
We love, but it's not just you. We like laughing.
it's like
at
anyone gets
anyone.
hurt.
Yeah, anyone
Yes.
in the family. We like laughing about it. I guess that's how we deal.
Yeah, your
that's how we
brother
deal.
has some good like I don't know how I must know just by
We all
through
love the
care, I
salt.
guess, like about when he never used shampoo, he only used conditioner or something.
yeah,
and then
the
his hair
softest
was
of
so
soft hair.
silky.
Yeah. You didn't know.
Yeah, he finally washed it and it was like with soap and all the grut came out. And then it was just like
Beautiful.
Timote.
It was great. That
Yeah,
was
like
good.
he does stuff like doesn't get hurt, but like doesn't quite understand the process stuff. Oh, wait, before we move on, do you want to do a tarot card? I'm really excited about this part.
okay, yeah,
Sarah.
give me a tarot card, I guess.
Do it.
Sarah, you don't have to have a tarot card if you don't want one. Just say no.
Oh, great. I love them.
Okay, your tone was like, okay. Like,
Oh,
what?
know,
yes, so-
Okay.
I foresee
Okay, so I'll
future
shuffle them,
accident.
and then when Sarah says stop, I'll just take the one that's on the top,
Okay.
Okay.
and we'll see what the message for Sarah is. Okay, starting shuffling now.
Stop.
Okay, we have the Page of Pentacles.
Ooh.
So,
vague.
Page of Pentacles. Let me think
Very
about this.
vague.
Okay, so
I hate
yeah,
pages.
it's vague. Pages, I don't like pages, and I don't really like knights because they're difficult to interpret, not because they are bad things. Pentacles have to do with like tangible stuff like money or your house, like, yeah, just tangible things. Like it's a feminine one. So there's like feminine and masculine, and the other feminine one is cups, but the cups is like intangible because it's like feelings and relationships and communication. So Pentacles is still feminine in that realm, but it's more tangible stuff. The other way that Pentacles can be interpreted is with your self-worth. So it kind of crosses both realms there where it's tangible, intangible. And the page usually is about a young person. So you could have a young person come into your life that has some, I guess, pentacle energy. Maybe they'll like present you with opportunities to make money, or maybe like getting in touch with your inner child can increase your self-esteem. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways to kind of interpret this card. It's hard when it's not in the context of other things. But I'm going to say right now, because I try to listen to what I think and feel while I'm talking. That's kind of how I do the tarot cards. I should have preempted this. I babble until I come to a point where I'm like, that feels right. So it's up to Sarah if it's going to be her truth or not. But Page of Pentacles, I am going with that inner child, getting in touch to meet all of those goals, whether it's self-esteem, monetary, like stuff, whatever. And it's like a youthful energy. So the knights are a little bit older and like an adolescent energy, a little bit more strong-willed and like have a direction and maybe rebellious, but the page is like younger than that. So it's kind of like inner child stuff, like getting back in touch with that, innocence, like leap of faith stuff, naivete, things like that. So how that's going to turn out or work out, we shall see, I suppose.
Okay, thanks.
So this could totally be a segment. It's like,
Okay, who's next?
what happened to Sarah? And with like co-host, KJ does what and what will happen to you.
Yeah.
Like, this is an actual segment.
Yeah. What will
love
happen,
it.
or like where you should focus your energy.
Yeah. So it's like she tells a story and then you pull a card and tell her what will happen to her. I just spitballing here, guys.
I'm just glad it wasn't the page of candles. So
You know,
Candles. That would have been
Could you
really
imagine?
cool. if
thank
it was.
goodness.
That would have been funny though, because there is
Candle
wands and wands have the fire.
yeah, that could have been a
It
one.
would have been sick. Yeah. Meredith, what happened to you? Does as many things happen to you as your sister and brother?
No.
Short answer? No.
Short answer, no. I was trying to think of things that like I don't think I'm easily embarrassed. I was trying to think of embarrassing things like I've woken up like naked on the floor a lot because of epilepsy. So like I was like, well, maybe it was embarrassing when, in residence, somebody came into my roommate's room and said, hey, there, because we were across from the bathroom, there's like a naked girl on the floor in the bathroom. Because I'd had a seizure in the shower, and she's like, oh, that's Meredith. She probably had a seizure, and she went and like, but I was not embarrassed by that. Like, I think
shouldn't be.
right, but like also that somebody, I don't know if it was a co-ed bathroom. I don't know. I'd like that somebody found me lying naked on the ground. Didn't bother me at all. Right? Like, but so then I was thinking of here's something, it's not really something that happened to me per se, but I had a dog and she was very dominant and she traumatized lots of people. So she was like very dominant, very hard to train and stuff, but she was very well trained, but she didn't like to listen to other people other than say me and my husband. And so there are a lot of stories with her. Like my brother-in-law came to visit and my husband and I were both going to work and he was going to go to the airport. And we said, okay, well, before you leave, if you could just let the dog out and then put her back in before you go to the airport, that'd be great. So she could go pee. He's like, sure. So he lets her out and then she won't come back in. And she's just sitting in the middle of the backyard waiting for him. And so he's like, okay. So he goes out there and he comes out and she attacks him. And he had to pull her into the house while she was biting his arm. Like she was a puppy, right?
And she's not like a violent attacker. She's like a big galoot.
She thinks it's fun, but she was a puppy and she was very strong. Like when she was full grown, she was like 150 pounds. So she was very, very strong. And so she thought she was playing, but it's terrifying when a dog that size is playing with her mouth. And so he like had to like pull her into the house.
We should also mention that she's a Great Dane.
Yes. Okay. So there's more than one story for Attack. So he managed to get her into the house. Get her in her crate, and he went off to the airport. We heard about it later, about her fully attacking him. And then Sarah was visiting when she was a puppy, and Dan and I went to go play Ultimate Frisbee. Sarah's like, oh, I'll just take the dog for a walk. I'm like, are you sure? Like, she's kind of big, and Sarah's not, she doesn't really like big dogs.
And I was pregnant too.
She's pregnant. She's like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. Because Ripley was fine mostly when I was there. I wouldn't let her get away with much. And, so I'm doing the Ultimate Frisbee. It's at night and there's these big lights for the field, but like around outside of the light, you couldn't see very much. And so I'm sitting there and I look around, I realize I can't see Sarah. And I go, oh no, where's Sarah? And I'm like, oh no,
to the forest.
Oh, the dog. This is what the dog did.
She led me to the forest.
He's walking her just fine. She leads her out of the light into the forest. And then what happened was the dog turns and went, ha, with her big sharp puppy teeth. And she attacks Sarah. Like when I see attack, she's playing, but she's like,
it feels like an attack because she's gigantic.
She's so big and her puppy teeth are so sharp. And so she's like, ha, and Sarah's like, oh no. And no, she's calling, but nobody can hear her. And she's in the dark because she's just outside the light envelope. So I was like, when I look around, it's like, oh no, where's Sarah? Ripley I knew something had happened, that the dog had done something because she was so smart and just terrible. And so Sarah, I go back to the car. Sarah has managed to grab the leash and drag the dog to the car and get her in. And I was like, Sarah, you should just have left the dog. Like, you don't have to put up with that. She's like, it's okay.
Puppy.
I got her into the car. She was pretty shaken. That dog, I mean, she I got a nice one of my favorite videos of her with a really small pup is her playing tug with my mom, and she bit my mom while she was doing it. My mom's like, well, now I gotta stop now because I'm bleeding. Like, she was just like strong. And Kim used to live with us, and she would, like, back then Kim used to smoke, and she would walk in, find her cigarettes, bite the pack in half, and then drop it on the floor, and then walk away and wait for Kim to find it. And she would be so eager, like, ooh, she's gonna get angry. Oh my God, that dog, like, she was a handful. But as an older dog, she was fine.
Okay, so whenever you are ready, Mary, I will take the top card when you say stop.
Sure. Yeah. Stop.
Okay. Page of Pentacles. Just kidding. You got Justice.
Oh.
Which is very cool. So I don't know if you have any legal issues, but this is a sign that they'll be okay, because it was upright too, it wasn't upside down. Things to think about with this card. I always get this card confused with Judgment, so I'm kind of just taking a minute to remember where I'm at. Okay, so it's about being balanced, and also, like, the floor, you see how the floor is like black and white, and there's a sword and there's these pillars, right? So these are some highlights from this card. So the pillars are symbolizing the intent to be balanced, right? And stable and like set up. Like, there's a set of laws that we follow because they want to keep order or whatever. The black and whiteness, like on the floor, talks about how the law can be very black and white, or justice can be very black and white. But also this card reminds you that in life there is gray. So one of the like lessons or information you can take from this card is to check yourself and make sure you're not being too black and white, when maybe you should observe some grayness if that's possible, and it's always complicated like this too, or the opposite is true. You're too stuck in gray and really the issue is black or white. The sword is a masculine energy, and swords usually mean like clarity of thought and conflict. So with this card could come conflict, or you could be like the resolver of conflict. You could be the fair mind that is able to manage the conflict before you in a fair way. Maybe you're black and white about it and it's like, this is just the fact, and that is just and fair. This card isn't unfair. So regardless of how this card shows up for you, it's always in the spirit of fairness or in the actual accomplishing of fairness, because it's justice. I would encourage you to look up the owl to see what symbolism you can find out about that. I don't have a wealth of knowledge on that symbolism, but it's about being balanced and fair and clear in thought. So there's not a lot of emotion, I guess, too. Like, that's a notable thing about swords and the card of justice. It's like the absence of that. Not that that's bad or anything. It's just, this is heavy on that non-emotional side, on that traditionally masculine side. That's what that clarity of thought is. And that's where often the conflict can come into play, because you're so clear that people who don't agree, it's inevitably a clash. Okay.
Is what brings about the black or white or the binary sort of thinking. I think the owl is the balance to that, because the owl is the feminine, the wise, the subconscious, the dark, the looking beneath the surface sort of thing.
I like that, because that is true of any animal. It speaks to instincts, right? And like your internal kind of nature. Like when
I do justice, I always think of the scales.
That's right.
The scales.
They're there.
Yeah.
So it's about balance and evenness and fairness and whatever. You could also feel like you're not being treated fairly. So you might have a year of doling out justice, or you might have a year of receiving justice. You might feel like you're doing it well, or you might feel like it's not being done well for you. Like, it's hard with, again, one card. There's a whole bunch of different like potential routes it can go off of, but legal's a definite theme. Yeah. The balance and like the settling of disputes though, right? Like, that's kind of the nutshell. And this is a major arcana card. So it's kind of a more powerful card than just a minor arcana card.
What a fun word, arcana card.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry that I brought you into the trauma, but I was thinking my dog traumatized a lot of people.
No, that's fine.
Like, just the list goes on and on. and we're thinking about getting a puppy. And I was like, remember how bad that was?
Yeah.
We're hoping they'll give us a more docile one because we
Yeah, you never know. Everyone's, or like all the animals have different personalities or whatever,
Yeah, no,
temperaments.
our breeder told us she was gonna give us like a dominant one because we didn't have kids. So
I can go next if you want.
Okay.
So my story is, it was Christmas time. And this is when I lived in a house in Burlington, and we had this giant cathedral ceiling kind of in the back part of the house, and it was kind of an open concept. So you had the living room was there, and then the kitchen was there, and there was like this little kind of island thing that came out that divided them, and then the dining room, like everything was kind of open. And in the cathedral ceiling, every year my dad would get this giant, like 14-foot Christmas tree. And it was gorgeous, and we decorate it. And sometimes it was so big you had to tie it up. And sometimes, you would just leave it, whatever. So this was one of those years when it hadn't been tied up yet. And my mom was in the kitchen. And so I would have been maybe a teenager at the time. And my mom's in the kitchen, maybe on the phone, or I don't know what she's doing, something in the kitchen. And I'm walking by, and the tree had just been decorated. It was beautiful. And I start to notice it coming towards me. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So of course, the instinct, unlike Sarah, to run around, whatever, I'm like, I have to fix this. So I go to run to get the 14-foot tree, and the 14-foot tree is falling on me. And I'm like this. So I'm like, mom, you've got to help me. Like, I can't, whatever. And so she looks, and she's this is my mom for you. And she, of course, like Meredith, just starts laughing at me. And I'm trying to hold this tree up, and the tree's falling more and more, and the ornaments are going everywhere. And it's like hitting the side of and to this day, my mom still talks about how funny it was that she stood there and laughed at me while the tree fell on me. And then eventually we picked it up, and it was fine. But it's one of those stories that stays. I mean, it wasn't traumatic by any means, but it's
it's so sweet.
Representation of my
Lindsay to
mom.
the rescue.
I know.
But
and my mom's
bet
laughing.
I bet every time you see a big tree, you kind of like eye it. Like, is that attached?
Yeah. My dad tied it up after that. So.
Yeah, that was when the starting of the tying up happened.
I think so. Might have been. But anyways, that's my little story.
Oh my
for you.
gosh.
Love
It was
it.
kind
Would
of
you like
fun,
a
but-
tarot card?
I would like a tarot card. Yes,
Yes.
please.
Are there Christmas trees in her future?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it is just past. Well, not just past Christmas, but it's past Christmas. Is Kim doing? Okay, stop.
Ooh, 2 of Cups.
Aw.
So this is good.
2 of Cups. Ooh, it's pretty.
Ooh,
Yeah.
he's wearing a
like
merkin.
that.
A robe merkin. Like I said before, cups is like communication, relationships, emotions, feelings. So a lot of that intangible feminine energy. Numerically speaking, the 2 of any suit is usually the doubling of the 1, obviously, but it's like an intensifying of the intention of the power or whatever. So for this is like a new relationship or a strengthening of your current relationship. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. In this story, it's Psyche and Eros. It's a really good story about coming to a relationship whole so that you make a good relationship. Like they don't come whole in the beginning, and so that they require things of each other that you shouldn't have to give in a relationship in order to make it work. And through their story, because the story happens from 1 to 10, they learn the lessons and end up having a happy ending. But this is the very beginning. So this is right before their first kind of union, which is lusty. Their first union is like intense and instinctual, and they don't even really know each other and whatever. So this definitely signifies the start of something, and in a relationship capacity. The other thing that we can say about this too is it could be a relationship with yourself, because that's like one of the themes of this story too, is that like through your relationship with the other, you complete yourself. What else can I say about this card? It's the beginning of a cycle, right? Because it's a 2. If we were closer to a 9 or a 10, it would be the ending of a cycle. So I am interested to see how this plays out for you, whether it's like your partner specific or if it's something else. I mean, this story is a romantic story, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a business partner or a like whatever, some kind of pairing though. Like there's going to be another person involved, or like 2 halves of your whole.
I like it.
What a great card.
Right? I'm excited for what will
Wow.
happen
That's a
to
good
me.
one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
That's
you.
Okay.
awesome.
Not a Christmas tree in sight.
Nope.
too.
No Christmas tree.
The merging of the human with the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
This interruption is brought to you by Unpublished. Do you want to know more about the members in Book Interrupted? Go behind the scenes? Visit our website at www.bookinterrupted.com.
Book interrupted.
The latest interruption is, have you seen my husband? We are on 7 days now of nonstop snowfall. And although it looks like a beautiful white blanket of snow, it is -30, so you can't do anything. And my husband does snow removal in the winter, and I'm pretty sure he's transformed into a snowman. We literally haven't seen him for a week. He's been working so hard, and my heart just goes out to him and his crew, like those labor-intensive jobs. Here I do just like sit at a computer all day or meet with people. And oh man, I wouldn't even last a minute out there working in such frigid temperatures with so much snow, nonstop, intermittent meals and naps. It's crazy. So if you have seen my husband, he is about 6'2", 185 pounds, and he may very well look like Frosty the Snowman at this point in time. Please send him home and tell Jack Frost to stop snowing.
Book interrupted.
Okay, I'll tell you one. I want to just say, like, remember that time? Because this isn't really a thing, but I don't know why I remembered it when Sarah and Meredith were telling their stories. But remember that time we were at some kind of a party or get together at Sarah's house, Mare, and in Toronto, and we were talking to each other, and I picked up a cherry tomato to eat. And it like squirted right in your, like, I love that memory. Like, it's not anything too crazy. And that's like the end of the story, but like literally put it in my mouth and we're talking and we're like, I don't know, 2 feet away from each other, like not even. And I just wasn't even like, I never crossed my mind that that could happen. And it burst with such power that it came out of my mouth and spat onto her face.
That's awesome.
Like a cartoon. Like how
really.
could it go? How did it go that far?
Yeah.
Right?
Like how,
like
yeah.
the power of a tomato.
Did you
Yeah.
laugh?
Of
Did you
course.
laugh that time?
Yes.
She threw her arms up and yelled,
So I just,
hospital visit?
yeah, no, it was fine. It was just, it was a bit of an interruption to whatever we were talking about. But
Totally.
it was,
That totally like stops the conversation. Like, what were we talking
Yeah.
about again?
she was just so surprised, like to have the front row seat to her reception of being sprayed with tomato. It was just really fun.
Great.
So that's not really my embarrassing thing, but okay. So the only thing I could think of is one time I was riding my bike, and actually this is embarrassing for 2 things, because of my rage and then because of my mom's like MacGyver ability to hook me up with Band-Aids. So I was riding my bike and you know how I don't like noises, right? Like clicking or chewing or whatever, right? So there was a twig in my tire, so it was like clicking every time it went around, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I was riding my bike, and like, so rather than get off and like investigate, I just started like kicking at my front tire, like fuck this. And I was like super mad. So I kicked my tire hard enough that my foot like went in between the spokes and was stuck, so that it rolled with the tire around to the forks, which caused me to shoot over the handlebars. So I landed on the road, like on my elbows, like, right? Like that was where the main, I wonder if you could see any scars. There used to be like long discolorations. So that's embarrassing that I behaved that way, and that was the result. But then I was like, cried my way home, and then my mom didn't have any Band-Aids. So I was like, so she put maxi pads on my elbows.
I remember that.
To stop the bleeding. I was like,
Ingenious.
yeah, really, it was. Yeah. So I guess that'll be my what happened to you moment.
So did you just walk around with maxi pads?
I mean, I
All
feel
over
like
your
it was
body?
for a moment. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I had to like go to school the next day with my maxi pads.
Like, that would be traumatizing. Yeah. That'd be a little
But-
much.
If she wanted you to, I could see her making you being like, "Oh, don't be so stupid, Kimberly."
Yeah, she probably did have some like expectation that was outrageous, you know, like, what's the problem, Kimberly? Like, but
Right.
it was at that age when it was like embarrassing. to talk about period. Like, I don't even know
Totally.
if I had my period yet or not. I can't remember on a timeline, but it was like not cool like it is
No.
now to put maxi pads on your elbows.
Now, totally cool.
Yeah.
Well, we got to find out what's in your
Are
future.
you gonna pull your own card?
Yeah, okay. I'll do my own card.
What's going to happen to you? Are there pads in your future?
Pads.
not, yeah.
See
In
pads
your
in your future.
Yeah, I got the 4 of pads.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Ooh, the 3 of Pentacles.
Ooh, that's a great card.
I like it too. Like, it's hard to, there we go.
I always think of like
Oh, cool.
coins and material possessions with
Yeah, money.
pentacles.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So 3s are good because they represent like the initial completion of something. And so there is a cause for celebration with a 3, which is great, but there's also lots of hard work to come because you're not at a 10, right? So every card is like a cycle. So because like the 1 is the initial, like the very beginning, like the whiff of whatever that card's energy is, the 2 is the doubling of that energy where there's like a focus and an understanding of like what's going on. And then the 3 is like an initial completion, like a preliminary, I guess, completion of whatever was the focus of the 2. So there's a cause for celebration. Oh, yes, I accomplished whatever. And then on you go to the 10. So in the middle, there's obviously a conflict and a challenge. But as the 3 card, it's the story of Daedalus, who's like an inventor, and he has created something and he is receiving recognition for it. This is great. Yeah, I like it. I might feel recognized for whatever, and I may or may not have created it, because for me, it's speaking to me maybe in my job, because that tangible money, often the self-worth is attached to like the identity that you feel like you get from the work that you do. So sometimes like this kind of card, not this one, but like Pentacles will come up when you like lose a job and you're struggling to not feel like you're somehow a failure because you were attached to your job, right? Like your job meant you were worthy. Anyways, but for me, this is a card of celebration and reward and recognition. And I feel like I'm getting there with my job and like embracing it more and getting more comfortable in my role. So that would be what this kind of means to me. And there's more hard work ahead, which is totally true too, because it's not like I'm like, and I'm done. Thank you very much. Everybody give me a raise and I'll be whatever, you know? So that's kind of what this means to me. And like, there's multiple layers too, because my self-worth is affected by that. Cause you come in, like me personally, I'm sure we all have this like imposter syndrome, like, should I be doing this job, or am like all of those versions of whatever. Right. And so this is a nice card to see for myself, because it gives me that reassurance that I can't give myself as I suffer from imposter syndrome. Right. So that's all I'll say about that.
Awesome.
Yay.
Right.
Okay.
Celebrate. Yeah,
Okay.
Leah, do you want to go
Oh.
or do you want me to go?
I don't care.
I'm good.
Okay, Leah.
Okay, Leah.
Okay. One easy one that was traumatizing for everybody there, I'm sure, and embarrassing for me is, as you may or may not know, in my 20s, I was a bit of a party girl. And when I'm hungover, there's like very specific things I want to ingest in the morning to make myself right. One of them is black coffee. It's all liquids. One of them is Diet Coke. And one of them used to be chocolate milk. I know.
Oh,
Strange,
I know
because
this
I
Diet
don't
Coke,
drink-
100%. It's got some kind of a hangover. It's that aspartame or something. Like it saves your
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it does. So I would always, when hungover, which I was often, get to work, get to the Tim Hortons across the street and get chocolate milk, which I would ingest first, then the black coffee, then the cold Diet Coke. I don't know. It just worked for me. So late for work, of course, me and my boyfriend are taking the bus. We hit the Tim Hortons. I'm struggling. I'm pretty struggling. And I'm at the counter and they're bringing everything. They bring the milk first and I'm dying thirsty. And I get the milk, crack it open, start slugging it back. And as soon as it hits my stomach, I realize this is completely curdled chocolate milk. And I immediately start throwing it up and
Projectile.
just throwing up all over Tim Hortons. Everybody in the line just goes boosh, like jumps back because it's spraying everywhere in everyone's feet. And I'm just not only puke it up, but then continue to like a dry heap of empty. So it's like I can't just like recover because I'm physically like my stomach's still doing the thing. My boyfriend, I don't even know where he is. He's probably like, I don't know her.
I'm out of here.
And I just wanted to like throw the blame anywhere. I just, you gave me rotten. Just like at the lady and just like, I don't know, like it was probably her first job. She's probably like 16. Just like
You just
so
threw up all over the
embarrassing.
counter.
Like it was everywhere. And it, you know, chocolate milk is like kind of pinky purple.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, like of all the things.
Yeah.
So I ran away. I ran away. That's me. I do that. Yeah, I did this. I ran the street to work. And then whatever, the day goes by and, you know, I live to see another day. And a week later, I'm talking to Bobby, Kara's husband.
Yeah.
Calls me to tell me how he heard from another person, because I had told them the story of what happened, and he heard about it from someone who was at that Tim Hortons. And they were like, ew, the grossest thing happened to me. I was at Tim Hortons and this girl fucking threw chocolate milk everywhere.
You're a legend.
That's
And he was like,
good.
that's my
Totally.
sister-in-law.
It's so true.
Like he's
And
so
ever
proud.
since then, we always in our family will check chocolate milk.
Well, I don't drink it anymore. After that, that was the last time. Never had it since.
That was my question. Like, have you ever been able to?
Yeah, never had it since.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Bob would always find out about my shenanigans, my drunk shenanigans, you know, impounded cars and whatnot. Not from drunk driving, from being parked illegally somewhere and making the right judgment call of leaving cars. Or my friend, you know, he'd find out. He'd be like, my cop friend. He called and said, hey, isn't your girlfriend a McBean? And he's like, no, it's her sister.
Like he already knew it was you. He's like, oh, can't be Kara.
Like he knows it wasn't Kara because
Well,
Kara was
because
with
he
him.
grew up all in like the
Where I
Tillsonburg,
went to
Simcoe,
school.
London. Like that's
Mhm.
all. Yeah.
And he knows a lot of people.
And he too was a partier and knows lots
And
of people.
There's only two McBeans. There's only two McBean
Yeah.
girls, so they found us. So that was that story. And I would
Oh
love
my gosh.
card.
Hold on. I'm starting to shuffle.
Okay.
Tune in. Pick your time.
Stop.
Ooh, this is a great. This is another
Ooh,
major
major
arcana. This is the High Priestess,
Mhm.
and I'm really good with this one.
I love High
So
Priestess.
that is a pomegranate that she has in her hand. This is what's her name?
Persephone's
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
Persephone,
yeah, the
who's
daughter. Yes.
Demeter's daughter. So
Yeah.
she's going downstairs, you see. So she's going to the whatever you call the underrealm. Like, yeah.
Mm.
And so what's this symbolic of is like going inside yourself, developing your own intuition, getting in touch with your inner knowing. This is about a really instinctual, independent, personal, like deep dive inside yourself.
It's a journey of growth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Through getting to know yourself, but through getting to know yourself on that knowing level that through the tarot anyways claims that exists in all of us. It's getting in touch with that inner knowing. It's like Glennon Doyle sitting in the closet, right? Like it's like an exercise in that. That pomegranate symbolizes like knowledge. Like she ate that, and that's why she has to like go to the dark side. She's like in the know now. She can't unknow what she knows or whatever. But yeah, this is about the stairway down is like a stairway into your own soul. So it's really getting in touch with yourself and like believing in your own intuition, listening to your little tiny voice inside that maybe for lack of evidence you choose not to listen to, or for lack of confidence, or even just for lack of being able to hear it. That's why I say that Glennon Doyle thing, 'cause, you know, she sits in the closet to find it, and then she's like, there it is. There's that knowing. Now I know, or whatever. This is all about that.
I love it.
I love it
So
too.
on
That's
theme for you.
perfect. So on theme for me. That's
Yeah.
great. Thank
Pretty
you.
awesome.
Welcome
2022 is your year.
of self-discovery.
Going
Oh
deep.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So what happened?
You guys ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like Sarah, I had a few stories to choose from, but I decided I would share this one. It took place in my adult years, just before having children. ever since I was little, I think even like from the age of 11, I've been seeing a dermatologist for acne. You know, you're told, don't worry, it's going to go away when you're a teenager, and then it doesn't, and it carries on. So I've gotten quite well researched in adult acne and all that. So anyways, it was getting bad at work again, which I started to figure out when I would get really stressed out. It would obviously impact cortisol and adrenals, and the acne virus hangs out in the adrenal glands, right? Didn't know that at this point in time. I think I was like late 20s. I set up a new appointment with a new dermatologist, and I go and I'm like, do. I show up to the appointment. And I had like washed off all like the makeup from work because it was like midday, but I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'll bring my makeup kit and I'll put it back on afterwards, because just like feeling really ashamed and wanting to hide it. Okay. So I show up, and so she calls me into her office, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, oh, look at that. I was like, she's got all these like stacks of paper and all these writing instruments. Like, I love office supplies.
Nice.
Okay. And so I'm like just taking it all in. I'm like, oh, look at that. I'm like, in this one pile, it's white paper and then a black outline of like the human form and the word front. And then in another stack, it's like the same outline and the label back. And I'm like, oh, and look at this pile. It's a blank face. I was like, oh, does she have those for like people's kids to color on? I'm like, this is so exciting. And then it's not all connecting at this point, folks. Okay. Because
Not for
again,
me.
I am.
What is this
slow-
place?
Either.
Hey,
I'm
you'll hear.
also
Oh, you'll find out. And then I start to really hone in on of her writing instruments. They're so colorful. I was like, she's got all these colors. I'm like, I've never met a doctor who has like all these different like pencil crayons and markers and all that. And so like I sit down in my chair across from her desk, and I'm like buzzing. I like can't wait to see like what's going to happen. And she's very monotone. Like, she doesn't have any expression. She is very like straight and get to work. And she grabs my like Duotang folder and she opens it up, and then she's just talking to me about like, you know, how long have I had acne? Those sorts of stupid questions. Okay. And she was very like still. And then she's just, as she's talking to me, she's like taking notes, and she's not even looking at her hand writing. And then she just reaches over and she grabs from one of the piles of paper. And so I'm like, that's in my peripheral. So I'm trying to maintain eye contact, but I'm very curious. I was like, what piece of paper from this stack did she grab? Right. And then she's still like, writing notes, like very like boring. And then she reaches again and she grabs from one of her colorful bins. And I'm like, this is on the inside. I'm like, this is getting exciting. Like, what are we going to do? And she like takes off the lid, and then she just starts going like all over the page. And I'm like, what is she doing? So I can't take it anymore. I have to break the eye contact, and I look down and I'm like, yeah, do you have all the answers? And I look, and it's the sheet of the face, and she's taking a red marker and literally put like dots all over it. And I went from like up here, folks, to being like so excited and jazzed and like, this is going to be a new age approach, to all of a sudden it all coming together mid-sentence. I was like, oh my God, she's drawing my face. I was like,
Not your face, your acne.
Your acne.
my acne. And I was like,
Your acne.
and then I was like, oh, and then I remember in that moment clutching my purse even tighter to me, because that's where all the makeup was. And I was like, don't worry, we'll get to that bathroom. Don't you worry. And then
I don't like her.
oh my God, I hated her. I
What a
totally
monster.
hated her. And she was so unfeeling and didn't even like, you know, when you're talking to someone and they don't like acknowledge or give an emotional expression that they've registered what you're hearing. And you're just like, and so she's just like, okay, here's your prescription. I was like, so that, and I just, for how long? Never mind. I just went to her bathroom.
This is too sad.
This is an emotional roller coaster.
This is a really sad story.
It's not really
I don't
funny,
even
it's
think we
just
should laugh.
sad.
I just don't even understand. Like, what kind of masochist is this? Like, isn't it redundant to draw your acne? Like, I'm here for a reason. I don't need you to make a headshot with lots of dots on it.
She's gonna put it in the folder though
Well, this is what she looked like.
for your file.
It was like before they had cameras. Like,
Isn't that same picture in everybody's folder?
Absolutely. Put it in the folder. And then I'm assuming at the follow-up appointment, then she'll examine to see if comparatively there is less. But it was,
She should have taken a picture.
Yes.
Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
It's the sound that goes along with the boop, bam, 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 bam. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like all. How many do they have? I've counted all of your
Yeah, yeah.
acne, and I'm gonna put it all on there.
Every shameful spot. Totally. My arm is tired.
She has to like rest her arm.
The whole face is just red at the end. It's not even dots anymore. It's just a red head.
But what was funny about it was how mismatched, like how not wanting to perceive the reality I was. I was like, and it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be wonderful. And it's like, and she's got colorful markers, folks. And
She's
then
new
to
age.
only, realize. I was like,
I didn't know where
oh.
the story was going. I was like, she's a child psychologist. Kira walked into the wrong office.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
another little
I-
girl that was supposed to be there.
I also didn't understand because there was so much of what I would label in my head as art supplies. So it was really, what's the word, like disorienting? Like I was like,
Yeah.
where am I? And I was so hooked in that I didn't even see.
Was it
Yeah, what
different
were the other
color
butt
reds?
plugs?
Yeah,
Like
she had like different colors, and I noticed she had like a lot of different browns. She had,
Probably
and so then
moles.
I wondered about that on the drive. Yes, I
Yeah.
was like, I wonder if the browns were for the moles. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
don't think
Give
she's a
Kara
fraud.
card. We gotta turn this around.
I
Okay.
know,
Get a card
totally.
and like, let's put this out of our heads.
I feel so bad that it like
Y'all have
was a
beautiful skin.
Debbie Downer story, folks.
Yeah, way to end on
Whatever.
a low
It's
note.
fine.
Wow, jeez.
I'm glad you're laughing. I
hard.
want to punch her.
It's hard to
Aw.
think about a story, don't you think? Like,
Well, I just think
Well, it
it's like we
was.
can make fun of that doctor. You know what I mean? Like we can feel bad for Kara in that moment. She's obviously okay.
Well,
Her
she just had
skin is
like the worst
porcelain.
bedside.
Maybe she
yeah,
was
the-
a good doctor. Obviously, look at her face now.
yeah, maybe she was good at what she did, just not
true.
the bedside part.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was all.
But it's something she
swords.
sees every day, right? So for her,
It
she's
was
probably
just
like,
so
yeah, we'll
and
just
you could
solve it,
tell
don't worry
because she
about
was
it.
just so like automatic.
No,
Yeah,
I don't like
wasn't
it.
emotional for her.
I'm
Oh,
shuffling
yeah.
Right.
it
Okay.
ready for you.
And stop. Ooh.
The 9 of
Oh,
Wands.
wands. Ooh, so magical.
Okay,
Scared me.
there's a lot about this. So let's see. So numerically speaking, it's a 9. So it's coming to
Mhm.
the end of a cycle. Wands are the other masculine symbol as opposed to swords. So where swords are like clarity of thought and like all in the mind and like self-talk and stuff like that. Wands are way less like that. They're like impulsive and fiery and energy and action. So a lot of action.
Good.
You can see in this card that there's like stormy seas as well as calm seas. So you might be pushing through a more challenging time that requires a lot of action and kind of response or whatever. But you're, I don't know, the soothing part of this card is like you're heading towards smooth sailing. I will give not a warning, but like the last card in this cycle is like, this is Jason and the Golden Fleece. That's the story that goes with this card in my deck. So he's
Oh.
gone, he got the fleece, he's on his way home. And this is kind of like the last kind of whatever push before he makes it to his final destination. But in the 10, when he makes it to his final destination, he's like kind of trapped inside, you know how when you build a fire, you make like a pyramid or whatever. So he's inside a pyramid of sticks like that because all of the excitement and adventure of going to get the golden fleece was awesome. And so now that he's completed his journey, when he should be celebrating, he's kind of like now what do I do? Right? Like,
Yeah.
what's my purpose now? I had this purpose for so long and this intention, and I had a source to focus my action toward. And in the 10, it's like, instead of being like, good for me and taking a like time to sit in it and enjoy it. It's kind of like almost like not a full depression, but you know what I mean? Like this nostalgia for all that hard work. So this also too, like, you know, when you're doing stuff, like I could relate it to when I was finishing my degree. By the end, I was like, I don't want to write another fucking essay. Like I'm so sick of this. Like I'm over this. And then when you're done, then you're kind of like, I could take another course, you know what I mean? Because like, so like when you're in it, you're like, I hate this. I'm so like, this is so hard or whatever. And then when you're done, you're kind of like, I don't really have anything to do now. Like, what should I do? So
Yeah, that's
that
so
is
me right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect for you.
So there you
Totally.
go. You're coming to the
Yeah.
end of a cycle. There will be smooth sailing after an initial kind of last push.
Yeah.
But the advice that I want to give with this card is think about when it's over, enjoying it, sitting in the satisfaction of the accomplishment, and maybe considering like what is next, or considering like what's it going to feel like for me to just be without all this extra stuff that requires all this action.
Totally. Yeah. That's literally what I
Right?
was thinking about yesterday. Is I was like looking ahead and I was like, really, if I can just make it to April. And then I was like, and I couldn't even go there beyond. I was like, but then what would I do after April? Because that's when things are going to get really a lot smoother for like months. And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, I can't even distract myself.
See if you can mentally prepare for actually not doing anything, and like on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay for me to not be busy. It's okay for me to not have the next thing. It's okay for me to sit here for a minute and just be, or whatever.
That makes me uncomfortable, Kimberly.
I know.
Therefore, it is good advice.
Hey, but my book will help because it tells you to go to a sit spot and sit
Oh,
there.
really?
Okay,
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
the robin.
Listen to the birds. It's good
All
to
right,
You
read.
like
Robin.
that? You like that too, right?
I love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
and April is when the robins start to arrive. In
Robin
this
and the
house.
rain.
Holy shit.
There
This
you
is
go.
It's meant to
amazing.
be.
That's
Thanks,
And is-
guys.
is
Oh, I
that
feel
when your
much
book
better now
is?
that I have a focus.
Yeah, no, totally. Now you have
Like,
somewhere to act.
I just need to make it to the Robins.
Something to tell you to do nothing. Just
Yeah.
it tells you to sit. You're like, check, I did my sitting,
Okay.
sitting and listening.
Nice.
There we go.
Cool. That was fun.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Book Interrupted. If you'd like to see the video highlights from this episode, please go to our YouTube channel, Book Interrupted. You can also find our videos on www.bookinterrupted.com.
Are you having a hard time waiting for the next episode because you can't get enough of the Book Interrupted crew? We've got you covered. At Unpublished, you can connect with all sorts of behind-the-scenes action. It's like an all-access backstage pass. Go to our website at www.bookinterrupted.com/unpublished for your free trial today.
Moments you can look forward to on next week's Book Interrupted.
If that
Right?
shot was called Super Dick Dominator, I'm sure that's how everybody would shoot it.
I don't care. I'm just kidding. This is too good. I can't put this down.
That was so. Sometimes I literally miss hearing him. It's like I haven't talked to Malcolm in a while.
That predict divorce. He called them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
And they are
What are they?
Yes.
Okay, I have a good question for everybody because
We'll be the judge of that.
Well, okay. Oh, oh, the pressure. Oh my God.
Book Interrupted. Never forget, every child matters.